Okay, so the next one that we're doing, we're looking at the nose hunger. So, you know, our sense of taste and flavor is actually very much related to our senses, so what you're smelling. So this might be something that you've all experienced, you know, maybe even walking into ELLICSR kitchen and kind of getting blasted with, you know, really good gingerbread cookies, and then, you know, feeling that sensation of being hungry, or even being in the mall. I call this the Cinnabon Effect. When you're walking past the Cinnabon counter, you've just eaten maybe, and just boom, you feel like, oh, I want a Cinnabon. Or even at the movie theater, right? You're coming in, maybe you just had dinner or lunch, and you smell the popcorn, and that's what you want. So again, this taps into one of the other types of hunger, just to be mindful of. And it's something actually Jeremy and I talk a lot about with a lot of our different groups, especially those who are going through appetite loss, you know, maybe even different taste changes. So working with the smell to boost up someone's appetite to eat that type of food or whatever it might be. So we're looking at gingerbread cookies.
Yeah, we're making gingerbread cookies because I guess it's the season.
Yes.
Also, we looked at that Cinnabon effect that Stephanie talked about and the nose hunger. And what is it from the Cinnabon that is, you know, causing that nose hunger? What is it exactly?
Cinnamon. Yeah.
Cinnamon. It's the cinnamon, right? So I'm sure if you've made things with cinnamon at home, you kind of have a similar effect, right? So it doesn't have to be, you know, a choice that maybe isn't the healthiest for you. You can use that nose effect to your advantage as long as you know what triggers your nose hunger, right? So for some people, it's cinnamon. For me, it's probably cheese, like melted cheese, and that usually gets me going. Yeah, but everyone has something different. So we wanted to make a gingerbread cookie, a little bit different. We're putting a little spin on it, yeah, trigger that nose hunger. So first thing that we're gonna start off with is half a cup of, you can use molasses. That's traditionally what's in a gingerbread cookie is molasses, and you can absolutely use that. We made what's called prune molasses. Maybe it doesn't sound as appetizing, but it is very tasty. I put the recipe on there. It's a cup of prunes with a little bit of brown sugar and some water. And you just blend it until it's smooth, almost like a honey, like a thick honey consistency. Here, okay? So we're using that. You can just use molasses. Molasses is just cooked down sugar. That's all it is until it's nice and dark.
Can you store that in the cupboard, or you have to put it in the fridge?
I put it in the fridge because it has a very low amount of sugar. You're getting a lot of sweetness from the prunes themselves. Prunes are dried fruit, they're sweet. But because we're adding water to it, now we're kind of messing around with the chemistry, so I just put it in the fridge.
Brown sugar.
Yes.
You know how they have the light and they have the dark?
Yes.
So would you use the dark, like the dark brown sugar for this one?
Whatever you
Or
have.
doesn't matter?
Yeah, brown sugar essentially is sugar, and then they add molasses to it, most of it. So you'll get a little bit of that molasses flavor, depending on what you're using.
So you can use, if you have the light one, you can use the light.
Yeah, use whatever you want. The idea is that we're using a little less of that sugar. And the prunes give it this really nice kind of caramelly sort of flavor. We just probably don't have the greatest memories from prunes, but it's tasty. So we're gonna add all of our wet ingredients. So we have some of that molasses in there. We're gonna add 1 egg. You can, absolutely. You're in control.
Yeah.
So you can absolutely do it without sugar. Just replace it with something else that's a liquid, even like, like a liquid. So even like pumpkin puree or applesauce or something. Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so an egg, we're gonna add 2 tablespoons of oil. We're using a neutral oil. So this is grapeseed oil, so it has no flavor. We just need a little bit of that fat in there. And we're gonna add the last liquid, which is vanilla. Also triggers nose hunger.
Yes.
So we're gonna whisk
Yeah.
these ingredients. Sorry.
Also, just to say, you know, we often think of like foods in terms of good versus bad. So you think of cookies, like, you know, maybe that's not something that I could have if you're someone who's, you know, trying to manage your weight. And this is actually plays into a different type of hunger, which is known as mind hunger. So that's kind of the, I guess, the conversations that you have. It's, you know, plays into like that, I should have this, I shouldn't eat this, good versus bad. You know, I just went to the gym, therefore I can have this, or, you know, I shouldn't have that cookie. So again, just being mindful of those types of, you know, that type of hunger that might come up. But, you know, we're definitely not necessarily saying like, you know, if there's cookies there, not to have it, right? You certainly can indulge, especially during the holidays, but just being mindful of, you know, well, what else did you have in that day? You know, did you and can you exercise as well? So kind of always balancing out. We always talk about kind of 80%, you know, getting what you need, and then 20% of the time really focusing on, you know, what makes you happy or, you know, indulgences. Yeah.
Perfect. So we have our wet ingredients. Then we're going for that nose hunger secret weapon. We have cinnamon, ground ginger, if you want nutmeg, clove, some of those like holiday spices, those warm spices. We'll add that in there.
So that was just cinnamon or?
Ginger, cinnamon, nutmeg.
Great.
Yeah, all of it in there. And then our flour. Now I tested this out yesterday with a few different flours. Obviously traditional, you know, all-purpose flour. This is Spelt flour, which is more of a whole grain. You have a lot, you know, more healthier goodness, healthy goodness in here. You can find this. You can use whole wheat flour. I also tried this with a millet flour, which is a gluten-free version. It worked, but I did not like the taste at all. It was very, very chalky and mealy. So we're gonna go back to the drawing book for that one. I think the whole wheat flour, if you want a, you know, a little bit of a healthier version,
So this
one works well. This is Spelt.
Spelt.
Yeah, Spelt flour.
Spelt, or you could use whole wheat too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's a little bit of baking powder in there as well. And then just combine it until it starts to come together. And what you're looking for is a dough that is soft, but it's not sticky.
Yeah.
So it should be, I describe it almost as like a Play-Doh.
Yeah. And then the last type of hunger that we didn't speak about yet is stomach hunger, right? So that's the feeling of growling. So that's usually most people, when they are asked, you know, why do you eat? They talk about, you know, because I'm hungry. And that's because your stomach is growling. So, you know, that's one of those 7 different types. And also just something to keep in mind. So again, like always assessing, you know, before a meal or during a meal, kind of asking yourself, okay, well, how hungry am I? If, you know, on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being not hungry at all, 10 being, you know, very hungry, and kind of just checking in to see where you lie on that scale. And if it's not really that hungry, but you still want some sort of food, you know, asking yourself, well, what are you hungry for? You know, what type of hunger are you? You know, because sometimes, like we said earlier, it plays on the heart hunger. So kind of that emotional. So maybe you're feeling sad or you're lonely. And so what else could you do instead of perhaps having that food? And maybe that's calling a friend or going for a walk with a partner, or, you know, doing something that's good for yourself for self-care. So there's kind of different avenues to this, but, you know, hopefully this idea of mindfulness and mindful eating and looking into the different types of hunger could give you a sense of where you're currently at. And there are some research studies actually that show that mindful-based practices can help, especially with those who are looking to lose weight, but also recovering from different changes that might have occurred, like head and neck cancers. So moving from not eating solid foods to solid foods.
All right, so dough came together. It doesn't take too long, but this is what we're looking for. So it's nice and soft, but I can press it and it's not coming off. And I was gonna say, hopefully I did it ahead of time. I did do it ahead of time. So once it rests, it's just gonna become a lot firmer. It's gonna be a lot easier to work with. And that's it. And then so we're gonna put this on a surface. You wanna dust it with a little bit of flour and then roll it out to make sure that you dust the rolling pin too.
Can you do it at that stage and put it in the fridge for days or no?
You can put it in the fridge for a couple of days. Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. If you anticipate it being longer than that, you can freeze it as well. Doughs do freeze well. Then you have to defrost it. Yeah.
In the fridge?
Defrost it in the fridge. Yeah, just, you know, if I know I'm going to make it on the weekend, you know, take it out on Thursday, put it in the fridge, and then it'll be ready. Yeah. Okay, so we're going to roll it out. I haven't made gingerbread cookies since I was probably 6 years old. So this took me back. This was really, really nice. And again, mindfulness, you know, it's not always just about the eating, right? It's even about the process and getting there. So the cooking process, maybe making something like gingerbread cookies or, you know, just cooking in general.
Yeah,
might put
like
you in
anything that you're doing, let's say with your hands, like meatballs or like that rounding process, you could kind of really, it could actually be a very relaxing act as well.
Absolutely, for sure. Just don't be in a rush to make gingerbread cookies. That's never a good idea. So that's pretty much the thickness we're looking for there. Almost like the same as like the cauliflower pizza, a couple centimeters. And then, you know, that's it. You make your shapes onto your baking tray, into the oven, 8 to 10 minutes for 350 degrees. And we have our little gingerbread cookies. These have a little bit of a softness to it because I did them a little bit thicker. And that's it. And then if, you know, again, decorating I haven't done in a while either. So this is like a yogurt. This is actually a vanilla yogurt icing that I made. So it's a little bit thinner. So I'm not making faces.
No?
So I don't have the patience for that. No. So I'm just gonna do these like little drizzles. It's almost like he's wearing like or she's wearing a striped outfit.
So enjoy.
Yeah, there we go. Done. So,
Nice.
little take on a gingerbread cookie. Definitely targeting nose hunger.
Yes, yes.
And
Playing also, you know, people make very fancy gingerbread cookies.
have fun with
the
it, for sure.
icing, and that could play into the eye hunger as well. So
Yeah.
stimulating what we're seeing. But
yeah,
that's it.
that's it. That's our class. Yeah.